Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time it is. Who wants to take a guess at what I'm making today? We have shredded Parmesan cheese, mozzarella cheese, ricotta cheese. I got an onion, some oregano, basil. I wish they had fresh basil. Herbs de Providence, sauce, and a big pan, and noodles. Yes, I'm making lasagna. I love making lasagna. It's one of my favorite things to cook because it tastes so good. And oh yeah, I got hamburger meat in the refrigerator. So with this recipe, I'm going to show you how I make it. But if you don't eat a certain ingredient, you can leave it out, or you can substitute it with something else. Lasagna is so great because you could add whatever you want. If you like zucchini or carrots or mushrooms, you could put all that in it. If you don't eat meat, you could leave it out or put fake meat. If you don't eat beef or whatever, you could use turkey. I mean, it's so versatile. And they even make stuff like vegan cheese and all of that, so it's good for everybody. But let me just show you how I make it. So I like using the Newman's Own brand just because it's a non-profit. It goes 100% profits go to charity, and so I like that. And I use the shredded Parmesan, not that kind, and not those dried sprinkled things. There's the shredded or the shaved, or even if you get a fresh block of Parmesan and shave it yourself, it makes it so much better. And I'll even show you a trick to how I apply my ricotta cheese. So let me get a pot of boiling water to boil these noodles with, and we'll get busy. So I like to use the biggest pot I have to boil, and this is the biggest one I have right now, so it'll have to do. And I always think the more water, the better. It keeps the noodles from being gummy, and it helps them from sticking together because they're such big noodles, and you don't want to stir it a lot because you don't want to break them up. And so I like to add a little salt and olive oil to my water. They say olive oil keeps it from boiling over. I don't know, but I just put it in. So while that's coming up to boiling, I will start cooking my meat. When I make my lasagna, I like to add lean ground beef and also sausage because it gives it a good flavor. This is hot, spicy sausage, and it adds a really good flavor to the lasagna. And since it all takes about the same time to cook, and I'm going to be baking it afterwards, I just cook it all together, mix it all up together, so all the flavors are together. There we go. And I season it with salt and pepper. turn that down a little bit. And now I'm gonna add, the water's boiling already. Grab those noodles. But I like to dice up some onions and garlic and put it in the meat while it's cooking. It's good to do it first, just because the pan is there's room for it. But then I feel like it ends up cooking too much when it's, because you have to cook all this meat. And I mean, maybe if you had 2 pans, you could do it. But the thing with that is that it doesn't impart the flavor if you cook them separately. So I'm gonna cut up these onions and put them in. I'm just gonna push this over to the side. Now that it cooked down a little bit, it doesn't take up the whole pan. So we'll cook those onions, and also a couple of cloves of garlic we can mince and put in there as well. Gives it a really good flavor. You could use the garlic that comes in a jar that's already cut up. I was looking for some of that in the refrigerator. I guess I don't have any, but I have whole garlic, so that'll work. Make it really good. So we'll cut that into little pieces and put it in there with the meat. Now we'll let that cook a little bit while I add the noodles. These are supposed to cook about 8 minutes. And I like to try to get them under the water as quick as possible so they'll cook evenly. Oops, I already broke one. So there we go. We got those. No, get down, Poncho, it's hot. So, got those pasta cooking. And get these onions. Turn that back up a little bit. Already starting to smell that good smell. And you shouldn't add any fresh ingredients, any fresh herbs till closer to the end, just because it might ruin them if you add too many. But since I got so much of this, I'll add some now, add some later, and I have dried herbs as well, and so it's okay to add those whenever. And I think that also gives a really good flavor. See, the one thing about the lasagna is that I really like to have flavorful meat in it. I mean, I like the whole lasagna to be flavorful, but I like the meat itself to have a lot of flavor in it. So I'll add a lot of these different herbs. I like to use the herbs de Providence. I like to use basil and oregano. And I don't really care too much for the flavor of parsley, so I don't use that as much, but we can add some of this fresh, even though it's got a ways to cook. It'll be just fine. Let me stir this pasta. Don't want it sticking together. Don't want it sticking to the bottom either. good. Turn that meat over. Get it all good and cooked. Okay, so now this is done and this is done. I need to get the colander so we can drain the noodles. All right, and then I will add a little bit of olive oil to this to keep them from sticking. Just be very gentle not to break the noodles. So we'll let those cool for a minute, and let me put these over here. Well, just put them back over here on a cool burner because I need to drain the meat now, and we'll just pour it in a cup. You don't want to pour meat down. You don't want to pour grease down the drain. And so I'll pour it in a cup, and then once it cools, then I can just put it in the garbage can. I wonder if I have a lid. Make it a little bit easier to not spill all of this. Just got to be patient when you're draining meat because you want it all to come out, but you got to stand here and hold it, and you can't just tip it over or it'll spill all the meat out. It gets heavy after a while. All right, that's good enough. And now we will add the some sauce to this. And you know what? Since I got my pot that I use to cook the noodles with, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the meat in there and add the sauce to that, because this is so full as it is. It'll just be easier if I transfer it to the other pot. Okay, so let me see if I can do this without spilling this all over the place. All right. Now, I got two different kinds of sauces. I got the tomato and basil. I really like the flavor of that. And I got vodka sauce. I really like the flavor of this as well. So, What I'm gonna do is add this one first and stir it up. I just need to see how much I need to add. I don't want it to be too soupy, but it needs to have enough sauce for the amount of meat that I have here. So I know we're going to take at least 1 jar. I'll turn this about a half and dump all this in and stir it up and see what it looks like and see if I need to add more sauce. I could probably pour that grease in here when it cools down to throw it away. Yeah, so it's gonna need more sauce. And this is when you add your fresh herbs. Yeah, that looks good. And oregano does have a strong flavor to it. So you don't want to put too much, overwhelm anybody, but put enough to add that yummy flavor to it. And you want to cook any tomato-based. I always cook my tomato-based foods at a medium to low temperature because you don't want them burning, and they burn easily. Yum, that looks delicious. I'm just gonna add just a tiny bit more sauce. Now it's about time to preheat the oven. So I preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And now this is ready. Take off the burner, let it cool. Now I'll put the lid on this and let me clean off this side. Put this away for another recipe later. I don't like leaving tomato products in the refrigerator for more than a couple days. I don't know, it's just how I was raised. But so now we got the meat ready, we got the pasta ready, and now it's time to assemble it in the pan. Okay, burner's off. Let's move over here. The only pan that I brought from the other house to bake in is this big, and so I got some of these foil trays, and when I was looking I was trying to pick out which size I wanted, and these say lasagna right on them, so I went ahead and got them. Let me get one of these out of here. Rinse this out. Okay, now it's time to assemble it. They're all my favorite parts, but I like doing this too. So what we'll do, separating these noodles, make sure they're not stuck together. And they are still so hot. So the first thing, get something to put this ricotta meat on so it doesn't burn the counter. So you get all your ingredients ready and close up. Okay, so let's see. Open my cheese. This is a 16-ounce bag of cheese. I'm gonna use it all more than likely. Probably use all this Parmesan. This is a 8-ounce bag. And with the ricotta, let me show you what I do. So with the ricotta cheese, I get a Ziploc bag, sandwich bag or anything. You know, if you decorate cakes and you have the pastry bag, that works too. But what I do is I scoop put it in a cup to make it easier to work with. And I usually don't use the whole container. This is that says 15 ounces. So about half of it. If I need more, I'll use it. Put it in the bag, and then I just cut the tip off. Cut one of the corners off. And now it's really easy to add to the lasagna. And so first I add the meat, and that keeps the noodles from sticking to the bottom. You might think you have a lot of meat, but if you add too much at the first, you won't have enough. So you can't really totally cover the bottom. Just add some like that. A little bit more. And then you'll add your noodles. I overlap them a little bit. Then add more meat. Make sure you get all the way in the corners. And then you add your cheese. I add the ricotta first. Just like that. You just do different patterns all the way up, and there'll be enough in every bite. And then you add mozzarella and you add the Parmesan. And if you want to add anything else like any seasonings, you can sprinkle some of those on as well. And we put some HDP on there. And then you start over with another layer of noodles. And there we go. All ready. Dang, this thing is heavy. All ready to go in the oven. So your oven should be preheated, 350, and I usually cook it about 20 or 30 minutes. Just keep an eye on it and just watch. You'll see the cheese melting and browning on the top, and when it looks done, it's done. All right, now we just have to wait. Looking good. Almost ready. Now that looks good. And I almost forgot. We got some garlic bread to go with it. I really like these frozen things. They are yummy. 425, 5 to 8 minutes. So we'll bake some of these up while the lasagna is cooling and be all ready for a delicious dinner. Now that's what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching. You all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.